Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel, and I'm your host for LT Productions. And you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Sistas. This is season 8. Is it season 8? Or season 7? Oh, my God. I forgot what season it is. Either season 8 or season 7. I do apologize. Maybe season 6. I think it's season 7. Anyways, it's episode 18. Some things did happen that I wasn't thinking was going to happen. But anyways, I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video and also subscribe to this channel if you are new. And welcome back home for the ones that are a part of this tribe. And you can leave your comments below. All right, so getting into this episode, we start off where we kind of ended on last week's episode, but it's the reaction from Andy after getting all of these demands and blackmail from Gary. She's going into the office and just about had a panic attack. She runs into her office and cries and hyperventilates and all this good stuff. And then Penelope called. She said that she got permission by the person that's watching her, because Andy was like, is this going to be okay for you to do? And she's like, yeah, I am. It's okay, cool. There wasn't anything really developing, but Penelope was like, I can't wait to really nail Gary. We both can testify, da-da-da-da. There's a pause from Andy. She didn't want to respond to Penelope. And then she put on the lies, acting like she was not going, like she was going to go on and testify. All right, so the next scene is Danny and Tony's ex-wife, Tiffany. She comes over unexpectedly, and she pulls out, do you recognize this? And it's a weed pen. And Danny's like, yeah, that's my weed pen. Tiffany's mom says that Brittany, their daughter, said that they gave it to her, that Danny gave it to her. And Danny's like, that's a lie. She was going through my things, obviously, and took it. And then Tiffany goes into, luckily, I found it because it was in her book bag. Do you know what would have happened to her if she had brought it to school? So it seems like it's the same routine between Tony and Tiffany about this child that's going into other people's homes and stealing. Let's talk about that, as Azalea Banks would say. Tiffany tries to go in on Danny, talking about, how irresponsible it is, and the more and more I get to know you, I'm finding out that you are just not really the person that Tony needs to be with. And Danny's like, wait a minute now. Because Tiffany's like, I'm his wife and all that. Danny done clocked her and knows that Tiffany wants Tony back. So there's an exchange of, look, I'm not going to let you undermine Tony and I's relationship. You will not come in here and accuse me of stuff. And then Tiffany was like, look, one thing that I'm going to do, no matter if you think I want to get back with him or not, I'm adding my own little 2 cents in it. The way I'm going to get Tony away from you is through his children. Because one thing he loves more than anything is his children. And I'm going to let them know how detrimental it is for their children to be around her. So they go back and forth for a few minutes. Then Tiffany gonna come by and basically leave, and then bumps up against Danny. Danny said, you got one time. One time. Now, can you beat up a military soldier and not face any charges? I'm just wondering. It was just, to me, this season with Tiffany coming in, it was a weird transition. Because it's like, we got one part of the story where it's like, okay, the ex-wife just needs someone to take care of the kids, and she dumped them on Tony. So, and then all of a sudden, I'm here, I'm being stationed back here, and now I have a secret plot to take back Tony and get my family back. I'm like, you couldn't have just told him that instead of doing all this crazy stuff, if that was true. Like, it's weird at how Tiffany is acting. It's weird how the story is pacing out. It gives better conflict for Danny and Tony, but there wasn't any type of really development. It's just like, I'm here now after you were just supposed to watch them for the summer. That doesn't make any sense to me. Let's see what happened next. Karen. We're at the beauty shop. She has an appointment to look at the babies. She calls her mom an ultrasound. And she goes off, well, she tells her mom about how she's about to lose her insurance. And it has to do with Pam. She was paying for things off of the store credit or whatever the store balance was off of the card to, how can I say this? To build up her business. So then mom was like, well, I think you need to tell her how you feel. Because it's all going to build up as resentment, blah, 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 blah. I got a couple of things about this whole Karen and Pam situation. Karen, you let it happen. Also, who is taking care of your books? At the beginning of the season, you needed a loan. Things were going bad. When we get back after the mid-season, business is booming and everything. However, we're at this point where you still bouncing stuff. Despite whatever Pam had going on, come on. Morally, could I agree with Sherry? Because Sherry was like, well, now she said that she's making money and all that. Well, you should get part of the cut. In a way, I believe it from, agree from a moral standpoint. Like, you could cut her something. You're using your facilities, Karen's facilities, and all this good stuff. And Karen's not getting nothing. I can see it that way. However, Karen, as a businesswoman, how come you didn't make out a contract? And don't you think you should have said something beforehand about, hey, I need you to pay me back? I mean, it's booming, and you didn't think to speak up for that because of how bullheaded you are, saying, I got this, even though you got to ask other people for loans. It's like, what's going on? I feel like, as I'm judging this season, because the season's almost over, and I'm just assuming that it's like 24 episodes, the writing has been kind of all over the place on some stories, because it's like they'll write something and then drop it and go on to something else. And sometimes they'll bring it back, but it don't really mesh because it's like, what's going on here? Anyways, Mama's gonna be at the ultrasound thing and all that good stuff. I don't know who called whom. I think Karen called Zach and asked him to be at the ultrasound, and she also said you can invite Fatima too. And Zach was very shocked, like, sure, let's do this. Da 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 da. Tamara, whatever her name's gonna be, goes to Gary's office. Tamara is a rookie and a loser, in my opinion. She starts demanding for $200K from Gary, or she's going to the FBI because she's got footage of him being rough with a woman. What do you mean, having sex with you? Gary's basically, it was so wrong, but Gary just kind of went there with her. And Gary said, I will not do such a thing. Now, he went on to say that about the sex, well, about how her vajayjay stinks, and also about how wide her vajayjay is. He really did insult her, but I just feel like Tamara's dumb anyways. You are no Candace from the haves and have-nots. You have no real leverage. Girl, all them toxic sex texts that you got, and you think that you are just so whatever, you had nothing to actually pull over Gary's head. Come harder. Try harder next time. But Gary, I got a question. You said it stank, but you still in it? You call it too wide and you told her to get some Kegels and you're still in it? Because I thought you were bragging about how huge your dingling is. So didn't you do that to her? Don't you think it's time to take it easy on her? Like, it was insulting and kind of a laughable read, but at the same time, like, you still in it though. You participate in it. Oof, whatever. All right, so we move on to Sabrina and Maurice. Maurice, he's so crazy. He has a problem with white people as far as in his position or doing all this stuff. But he's always in some type of something with someone at the bank. Him and Sabrina, they exchange words right there on the bank floor. Maurice is talking about his dude. And it has something to do with something he's uncomfortable with or just can't tolerate. But anyways, he eyes this man, good chocolate man. This man's name is Del Monte, and he is a part of the bank, and he wants to do an interview on Sabrina about her getting this position as branch manager. And he invites her out so they can go on and talk. What happened next? Miss Marie comes into the office and doing her usual do. She wants to find out if her husband has been cheating on her. Hayden says that he will find out if he's been cheating or not. Excuse me, because she said if that's what has happened, then this will be my way to get out of the prenuptial agreement, and she can keep her money. He has no holds to anything. In walks Pam. Pam is visiting Andy, I guess, to bring out her products. She recognizes Miss Marie. She's read her books, and her and Miss Marie bonded. And both Andy and Hayden are just looking like, because Pam just being Pam. Hayden's like ghetto, blah 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 blah. She ends up taking the product out of Hayden's hands, and it looks like her and Marie are in a place, or a good buddy place. Her and Marie, they go off and talk. She talks about roots to riches. And then Andy and Hayden, they get together and they start, and Hayden was like, I don't know why you bringing around your ghetto head hood rat friends. And Andy said, never mind that. She said, how do you think that we're supposed to find out if the ex-husband has been cheating? And Hayden said, I didn't say we. It's going to be me. And thinking this is going to be enough to get Marie on his side for whatever reason. But you're already having sex with her, so whatever. So, what happened after that? What did happen after that? That was it with them. At some point, Fatima and Andy do talk. Andy tells her what's going on with this whole Gary situation. And of course, Fatima's upset. Karen calls Zach and tells him about the ultrasound. Oh, we already know that. Now Zach has called Fatima to say, hey, we got an ultrasound and Karen has invited you. She's like, oh, wow. So then she acts like, when is it going to be, her next doctor's appointment? And he said, today, this afternoon. Fatima said, I wish I could. It's last minute for whatever reason. I don't understand why Karen's always waiting till the last minute to tell the father about her doctor's appointments. But Fatima can't come because of a lot of things that are going on in the office right now. And then Zach was like, I gotta get someone to babysit Michael. And Fatima was like, do what you gotta do, because Miss Rose is not available. On the flip side, Zach is calling everybody that he knows. He called Nate, of all people. I'm like, well, Nate don't even watch his own children, so why would he? Crazy. So Deja ends up stopping by. She's delivering the rent, and it looks like she's late with it, and she was scared. And coming in, Zach said Fatima's not here, but she said she apologizes for being late with the rent and all the late fees. And then Zach said, what if you don't have to pay the late fees ever again? And Deja was like, what are you talking about? Are you leaving Fatima? Blah, 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 blah. And Zach said, no, because you just watch Michael for like an hour. I got to be somewhere, and everything's been cool. Deja agreed to it because, of course, she does not want those late fees. So she watches Michael. Danny, before Karen goes to her doctor's appointment, Danny comes by with Karen, and they finally have a sit down. First, the women were being quite stubborn and wanting to own what they've done. Danny's issue with Karen is that she's always looked at Danny in a very derogatory way, like she was better than her and all that good stuff. Karen's thing is that you didn't have my back all the time. Anytime somebody comes around, you're defending them. And Danny was like, no. Well, you did that with Zach, and then when Fatima came along, you were defending her. Danny said, no. Zach is my boy, homeboy. And I like Fatima. She's cool. Now, I'm able to call out the bullshit. That's all that's going on. Karen was like, well, in certain instances, I don't ever feel like you are a friend, and I don't think that you are loyal. You're untrustworthy. You went on and told my business. But what's her name said, Danny said that, well, I was being petty at that point. and I didn't tell Zach or the girlfriend anything. So So they finally end up getting to the place of owning where they had failed. Danny was in this place of, I didn't do that, but I can see where you felt this way, blah, 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 blah. Karen was like, well, how come you didn't tell me about how you felt, Danny? And she said, I've tried over the years. But when you going through your own stuff, everything's about you're right and everyone else is wrong. Karen apologizes and also Danny apologizes. So it looks like they're in a better place. I kind of was hoping for a breakup in the relationship. How about y'all? It is about sisterhood, and you know, you do have problems and all that good stuff, but I thought that was kind of going to be the end for a little while. But hey, things came to a head, and it's good to see friends able to get it together, even if I don't like Karen or not. Let's see. All right, so we can go on to the doctor's appointment. Zach is late, of course, because he was trying to get a babysitter. Aaron is there. Sherry Belafonte is there. And they get the ultrasound. Not much there. Fatima comes home, and she sees that Deja is there, and she kicks her out. Zach eventually comes home, and Zach is shocked because he knows that Fatima knows that Deja was here. It's like, oh, you beat me home. And Fatima's like, that's right, I beat you home. So then Fatima ends up putting Zach in a headlock because of the whole Deja situation. I said, yes, writers, please give us some old school Fatima. Give us something, because Zach and Fatima, they act differently on Sisters than they do on Zatima. You know? So it's like, thank you for something, because they're quite mild-mannered here. Of course, they discuss problems, but we don't see any type of antics. No, what's the word? Flamboyance at all. Like, give us something. So Tony comes by to Danny's house. Tony, you are foul, and we keep giving you chances, and I don't know. I thought you were a good boyfriend, but for whatever reason, you get hoodwinked by your family. Maybe you feel guilty about something with the children, and maybe you need a therapist. So at first, Tony was like, you know, Tiffany was wrong. She shouldn't have come over here like that. Danny was like, thank you. And then Tony was like, well, you see how, hopefully this showed you that you need to be a little bit more conscious on having stuff around for impressionable children. And Danny's like, wait a minute. What about your child that's stealing? Let's talk about that. I think she talked about, you know, she needs a whooping. And Tony was like, everything doesn't deserve a whooping. I agree with that, but what are you actually doing? Your daughter is taking stuff. If she's taking stuff out of Danny's home, I'm sure she's taking stuff elsewhere. If you were actually paying attention, instead of trying to be a thought within the airport with Danny, because something ain't right there, because you're trying to avoid something. I have a feeling that Tony is guilty, feels guilty about his marriage breaking apart. And that's why he won't really address his children like that. So Danny took offense, and I take offense to it, because it's like, Tony, like, what? And I think he was talking about listening to advice from Danny, like, look. Oh, when she talked about the whooping part. He's like, well, you are a weed-smoking woman that's in therapy. And Danny's like, well, you are a divorced man in therapy also. It's time to go see the lady, Tony, because you are wrong in this whole situation. Danny ended up just saying, because you want to act like I'm wrong in this whole situation. Danny's the one that's been wrong and the only one that's being accused and made out to be something. Danny feels like he's taking her side and all this, and she just says, you know what, we're not going to solve this today. It's just time for you to go. Is there anything else that happened? Is there anything else? What was the ending scene? Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about Sabrina. Sabrina does have the interview with the dude. He likes to make things more comfortable, so they're out to some restaurant, and he turns on his recorder. They talk a little bit about, well, I think she brought it up, about being in prison, that for something that wasn't her fault. And she starts talking about her personal life. She's single and harvesting her eggs through IVF. Rich comes in, and Rich takes it out of context, and he wants to go off a little bit. He does it in a professional way, but you can tell that he's upset. He thinks that Sabrina and Del Monte they're on a date, until he finds out who Del Monte is, and then he apologizes for that. Anything else going on? Is there anything with Andy and all that good stuff? I think that's about it. I forgot how the show ended. Unfortunately, I do apologize. Next episode looks quite promising. You can tell that there's a build up to something that's happening at the end of the season, and I'm kind of excited to see what's going to happen. I think the writers at this point have got to stay focused a little bit more and not be all over the place. Whether we like the decisions you make, I think there's got to be a little bit more depth into the decisions that are made sometimes. And maybe I'll have a full analysis by the end of the season. Did anything else happen? I'm trying to think. I don't know if that was the end with Zach and Fatima, but oh well. If it's not, it's not. I do apologize. I do again appreciate you for coming to my channel. Please like this video and also subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you think of this episode. Until the next one, peace. Alright, so now I remember. Andy goes over to Jordan's home and basically breaks up with him. And that was the end of the episode. But I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Again, please like this video, subscribe, and you can share it too, and leave your comments below. Until the next one, peace.